welcome back to At the Table. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jason, father and son team back again.
Yep, and we are bringing you our weekly comic call for the week.
That's right. We've already been in the comic shop. We've perused the new comic shelf. We've picked up all the stuff out of our pull list, maybe a few extras that weren't in the pull list just to try some stuff out. So if you want to see what we're excited about this week and maybe add some things to your shopping list for this week's New Comic Day, stay tuned for this video.
Okay, so let's get started with our variants.
Yep, this was, well, mostly because of one title, right? This was a much heavier variant week for us.
You want to kick the start? We got to be quick with these.
Yep.
We have so many.
We do. We have a bigger stack this week. So anyone who's watched any of our videos the last few weeks or so knows that I've been just raving absolutely in love with this book. So I picked up the second printing of number 3 of Stray Dogs. This was a heck of an issue. This is the issue that darn near brought me to tears at the end of it. This is an amazing story. If you're not reading it, either pick up the singles and grab it. I think it's only going to be 5 issues, which makes me sad, or wait for the trade. But don't miss this story. It is absolutely wonderful.
Next up, we got the Canero Stormbreaker. Sorry if I said the name wrong. Canero, I don't know.
Yeah, and this was, out of the Stormbreakers, this is the only one. I think technically the others that we'll go over were listed as Stormbreaker variants, and they had the Stormbreaker stuff on the back, but this is the only one for the week that actually had the logo on the front. So, and actually probably one of my favorite covers for the week.
Yeah.
So let's get into, well, we got one more before we get into the one that we have a lot of.
Spider-Man Spider Shadow number 2, or
second printing of number 1.
Second printing of number 1.
And I think this cover just does a great job highlighting how much more sinister this costume is in this scenario. And the whole thing, if you're not familiar, it's a what-if scenario written by our favorite Chip Zdarsky. What if Peter Parker had actually embraced Venom and the symbiote instead of denying him, pushing him away? So this book is getting dark, and it's really enjoyable. I can't wait to see how that plays out.
So next up, our first of the Black Panther title, or
Black
covers.
Panther number 25. They just released a ton of Stormbreaker / fine art variants.
So this is the fine art. This is, again, the Carmen Carnero variant. There you go.
All of these are, I mean, obviously we liked them because we bought them all. So yeah, that's not my favorite, but I really like it. It's definitely stylized. So what else? This one's my favorite.
Same. The Patrick Gleason 25 variant.
He's just killing it these days. He's putting out some of my favorite covers. So this one's just simple, and it's just striking. I like it a lot.
So next up, we accidentally bought 2 of these. We got these covers.
Yeah, and I think what happened here is I'll put it up on the screen. We bought the Peach Momoko cover as well, which we'll put up, which I really liked. It's one of, I don't know if we've just been worn down by all the exposure because she's putting out so much stuff, or the fact that she's putting out so much stuff. The variety is there that we're finding. We really like some of the new stuff. But we'll put that cover in, and the artist for the other is Coelho. You'll have to forgive me if I'm butchering that one. But that's another really cool cover for the week on that book.
The next up is the Cabal.
Let's go with Cabal.
Fine art, Black Panther 25 again variant.
Yep, another cool cover in that series for this week.
So next up is the Bustos variant. They've done a ton of amazing Stormbreakers. They did a really nice King in Black with Venom on it.
One of our favorite Stormbreaker. I mean, we've been big on, we've pretty much gotten all of them, except there was one Peach Momoko that we weren't crazy about, and we may just go get it because we've got every other one.
Be good to say we have them
but
all.
I really like this one as well.
Yep, so for our last, it is the Black Panther Kazara fine art again.
This one's pretty cool. It looks like kind of a mosaic piece. It's a little bit different. But all of them are really slick with a great character. So we picked them up just for the covers.
So that was all of our variants for the week. Let's go ahead and get into our favorite pick from last week now.
Okay, last week was tough because there was a Stray Dogs. There was it was just a bunch of stuff that hit my list. I'm sure you had trouble too. But after thinking it over, I'm gonna go with one that surprised me the most because the last 2 weeks I've caught up and I've been able to get a lot of reading under my belt and get through some of my stack. And the book that surprised me most was Radiant Black number 4. This book, once I got through issue 1 and it just picked up and took off from 2 forward, and 4 just exploded. Kyle Higgins just took a complete left turn from where I was expecting this to go and hit us with something pretty serious. It was a gutsy game changer at the end of that book, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this shakes out. You have to read this. This is age appropriate. I think it's no more worse than any of the other typical Marvel or DC superheroes.
Okay.
But it's a little different. I think you really like it.
Okay, so for my pick, it was very close between two different ones, but I ended up going with Daredevil number 30. Chip Zdarsky really delivered on this book. I've probably already picked this once or twice on our videos, but it's just so amazing, and I love the...
Yeah. I'm starting to think that maybe you're becoming a bigger Chip Zdarsky fan than Donny Cates.
Not really. I still like Donny Cates a lot, but
I guess
Chip
to be
Zdarsky
fair,
is
Chip has
still
had
really
a
good.
lot of stuff that's come out lately. The Stillwater last week was absolutely phenomenal too. So that's
our picks. That's our picks from last week. Let's get into our picks from this week.
and I'm gonna let you lead out. What's the book that give us your first book that you're really looking forward to this week?
A Teen Titans Academy number 3, which is a shocker because we are both actually current on this.
Yeah, I'm actually, I expected this to be sort of a Strange Academy knockoff, but it's really
Same.
come across very different.
And it's still really, really good.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying, unlike Strange Academy, where it seems to be very focused on the students, there's a good bit of time and attention with the Titans kind of embracing their role as teachers and figuring all that out. So it makes this story a little different than that one, but great story. This one is crossing over with Suicide Squad, and I'm not sure how. It's kind of interesting. Like I think I said it before, of all the books that I would have thought this one would have crossed over with, it's interesting that it's crossing over with Suicide Squad. And we'll talk more about that when we get into the next Suicide Squad.
You want to go ahead and grab your next book? Or your first?
Yep, Department of Truth. I have caught up on this book. Recently, we sort of took a little bit of a break for a couple of issues. We got some backstory of Oswald's character, and as a refreshing change of pace, we got a completely different art style. Some folks may not have liked that, but sometimes the art is tough in this book. It definitely matches the tone and the craziness, but it can be a hard book to read sometime visually. So I kind of enjoyed that. Now we're getting back into the regular style, and this book continues to deliver. So I'm really excited to see where this one goes. The more twists and turns, the more I'm unclear on what's going on and who the good guys are in this book.
So next up, Beta Ray Bill number 3. First off, amazing cover. I really like this. He's trying to glue back Stormbringer. This cover is amazing. This book has been amazing. It left on, like, they're right about to get in this massive quest. I'm really excited, and I'm definitely going to read this.
I really like the cover. I think it sums up where we've been so far in this book. He's not only trying to piece his weapon back together, but he's really trying to get his life together. Yep. And this one should start his epic quest that Odin sent him on to basically replace Stormbreaker.
Yep.
So, my turn. So I will admit I liked this book. This was another one that I caught up on number 1 last week, so I'm actually really excited to go with Robin number 2 this week. I like Damian. I like him even better in Super Sons, but I have liked him in this. I've liked him in some of the recent Batman titles. And this one's interesting. Last issue, he showed up at the Lazarus tournament full of just typical attitude that Damian has. He thinks he's just going to win and he gets put in his place very quickly, left us on kind of a cliffhanger. So I'm curious to see how this pans out.
So for my last pick, it's going to be Reptile number 1. I know it's a shocker. There's actually a number 1 on my list.
There weren't a lot of number 1s this week. This was one of only like 2 that I can think of.
So he was in a Amazing Spider-Man. Maybe it was the King of Black tie-in. I know I read him on something.
And we've seen him in some of the Marvel cartoons that we've seen. He's an interesting character, but
yeah, and it's I'm really excited for this.
Another younger character. He has stepped away at this point in this comic. The solicit tells us he's kind of stepped away from crime fighting, but he's drawn back in. There's some type of big secret that changes everything. That it kind of changes his whole world. I'm hoping this turns out to be another likable father-son read. And another one for me, my final pick is I'm excited about Shadecraft number 3. This was another one that I needed to catch up on, but when I did, the story it hooked me from issue 1, which is hard to do. And issue 2 kind of left us on a big cliffhanger. Our heroine is kind of running from these shadows. These things aren't real. They're trying to attack her. There's some interesting developments with her brother. And then at the end, someone that's kind of been around the school shows up to not be who they claim to be. And you find out where those shadow monsters might be coming from. So can't wait to see where this picks up.
So those were our top 3 picks for the week. Now let's jump into our normal. I'm going to go with...
A lot of good stuff this week.
There is. I want to go for something that was here. I'll go for this one. Okay, so first off, I think the cover is really good. Now, the story, I'm not so sure about right now.
Are you going to give it are we going to keep it on the pull list, or are you going to give it a little bit more of a try and see?
I'll read this one, and if I don't like it, I'll tell you. I mean, I don't think the other one was that good. That's my opinion. Other people may really like that. It's not something for me.
Yeah, I'm not super excited about a rehash of a cloned story. It's been very much been there, done that, and Miles deserves new original adventures. But I'll wait and see what you think after you read this one, and then we'll either collectively decide to take a break from Miles on this title, or we'll stick it out because maybe it's better than we're thinking. So we've got The Marvels number 2. I'm behind in this one. I didn't read number 1. It's slowly making its way up my stack, but this is, I believe the premise of this one is it's an anthology series that takes place over a wide variety, or a very large time span rather, over a big group of characters, and it's supposed to be telling kind of this epic storyline over a long length of time. So I'm looking forward to digging into that.
Next up is Red Shift number 1. I see a chicken and I like gemsticks, so.
First thing you asked is, why is he have an axe chasing a chicken on Mars?
No, I asked, why is there a chicken on Mars?
Good question. This is a sci-fi book by Scout. Big sci-fi fan, big Scout Comics fan, and this is the only other number 1 that I could get excited about this week. So here we've got a story that's set off in the future. Mankind has colonized Mars. They're struggling with that. Somehow the group, the Ministry of Exploration, I think it is kind of pinning their hopes on taking mankind to the next level, or kind of recovering on, oddly enough, an astronaut who's afraid of space. So this one, it sounds interesting. It was kind of a vague but kind of intriguing hook with the solicit. So I'm going to give that one a try.
Okay, so next up, Maestro Warren Pax number 5. I believe you're current on this. Take it away.
I am not current on this, but I know this was the first Maestro series was a big favorite of both of ours. We got into it. We didn't know much about that character, so we learned a lot about him. We read through the first one, really enjoyed it. I just remember the opening of that series was just so unusual and unexpected. Mm-hmm. It just hooked us. So I think this one I'm just collecting until we have it, and then I'm just going to sit down and read all of it.
Yep. So next up, Black Friday.
This, it feels like it's been, well, it probably has been quite a few months since we got issue number 1. The premise on this one was really interesting. I actually read number 1, really enjoyed it. Just imagine if all that like angry and pettiness and like that rush that happens during Black Friday as people are kicking down the doors and fighting each other for TVs. What if that kind of drew in some negative energy and kind of resulted in one of these, like, imagine your local Walmart getting essentially haunted because of all that negative activity. And that's what's happening in this book. And we left it on a heck of a cliffhanger with number 1, and then we've had some months since. I'm excited to jump back into this and see where it goes.
There you go.
Shadow Man number 2. I picked up number 1. It seemed mildly interesting. This is another one that's still in the stack. Just flipping through it. I like the art. It's got promise, so I've kept it on the pull list just to see where it goes.
Batman Black and White number 6.
I think you're more current on these, but I've really enjoyed these. Well, we've had 2 kind of common current. We've had these black and white books, and then we've had a whole bunch of different iterations of black and some color, or like black and blood, or Superman black and red, or whatever that one was. There's been a lot of these kind of gimmick books, but this one I think was one of the first, like, of this renaissance of all this black and white stuff or limited color, and it's been a great just anthology of Batman stories told in black and white.
Yep. So next up, we are gonna do Destiny of New York.
Yep, another one that I'm not current on. I hope to catch up on this week, but the premise hooked me. Just to remind folks, this one started out with the heroine in this book was basically going to a school for folks who are destined to take some part in prophecy. She's already fulfilled her prophecy, and she's kind of peaked at a super young age, and she's trying to figure out what to do. And that was the kind of the summary for issue 1. That's what hooked me. That's why I put it on the pull list, and I haven't caught up. So,
Detective Comics 1036.
I think you've been on a Batman kick, and you're excited about this one.
Oh yeah, I am. I am not current with the things after Future State. I read everything up until before, so I do have a little bit of catching up to do.
You're current on 0 Point, though.
Yes, I am.
So I think you're itching for some new Batman. I'll queue up the ones you're behind on, and we'll get you caught up this week.
Okay, next up, Black Widow number 7.
I believe this starts a new arc for Black Widow. A new costume, new allies, as the solicit goes on to say. But I really liked the first arc in the series. It really surprised me, the situation that she found herself in, having Hawkeye and Bucky there kind of helping her out, trying to get her out of that situation. What happens with this kind of family that these folks had set her up with and put her in this situation. It was almost like a WandaVision type of situation. She spent those issues, a lot of them, in like an idyllic situation with a family and a kid, and things go terribly wrong. That kind of wraps up. Now we're heading into a brand new arc. If it's half as good as the first arc was, this is going to be an enjoyable read.
Next up, I Breathe the Body number 5.
This is a book that, I listened to a podcast and where Zach Thompson went into the premise behind this book and social media and the despicable people that create some of the channels and stunts and they do and the motivation for this series. It sounded really fascinating. This book has been so out there. But every time I think I can't put it down because I want to figure out what exactly is happening. I'm caught up. I think I've wrapped my head around it a little more. It's been a little more explicit in what's going on, at least in issues 3 and 4. I think this might be the last or the next to last issue. I know this is wrapping up. I just decided to stick out the ride, as weird as it is. I don't think I would jump on the singles at this point, but it might be worth trade waiting for that one if this is the type of thing that's up your alley.
Next up, Star Wars, War of the Bounty Hunter, Darth Vader number 12, Prelude into the Trap. Dun dun dun!
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and add Dr. Aphra here too, because these are both part of the Bounty Hunters War, and I didn't think I was going to jump on this. I didn't move fast enough to take some of that off my pull list. And once something's on my pull list, and once it's hit my box, I just can't bring myself to put it back. I'll get it. So if I'm going to take something off, it needs to be before it gets there. So I'm going to go ahead and read at least these. Maybe worst case scenario, I won't read all 37 of those. I mean, I love Star Wars.
37's just a lot.
There's so many issues. It's worse than King of Black or X of Swords or any other number of them, but I ended up with those. I'm going to read them. I'm afraid I'm going to get hooked, and then I'm going to be in for the whole ride, but we'll see how it goes.
Next up, I don't know.
This is Ice Cream Man, but with scary clowns and sad clown stories instead. I think this has been in our pick before. I know this has been hit or miss with me. I like some of the issues. I don't like them. But comics are such a low investment for a few bucks to stick it out. I've gotten enough enjoyment out of some of the issues that I've kept it on the pull list, and I know this is going to wrap up with a crossover with Ice Cream Man, which is kind of intriguing to me, so I've stayed on it.
Next up, They Fell from the Sky, number 4.
Yep, this is a book that I picked up. I think this is a sort of an alien buddy sort of invasion thing. It looked kid-friendly. We haven't caught up on it. It's making its way in the stack. At this point, I think this is a limited run, so we'll probably wait for this one and get through it too.
Next up, The Witcher Witches Laminate.
Did we let you watch The Witcher? I can't remember.
I think I watched some of it, but I don't remember if you let me watch it or not.
Let's go with I didn't, so if your mom watches this, I don't get in trouble.
Okay.
But I liked the first mini-series. I will eventually, when you get a little older, I will make you play the video games because they are fabulous. The novels, I'm about halfway done to that series, are also great. So this just automatically, when I saw another Witcher series get starting up, I got enough enjoyment out of the last one, and it just filled in some gaps between the video games, the TV, and the novels that I stayed on it for the next one.
Next up, Spectre Inspector number 4.
This is another one that we need to catch up on. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a Jake and I solid read. I think maybe we'll try to catch up on it this week, but I think this has got almost like a Scooby-Doo kind of gang kind of feel to it. So we'll catch up on that and report back next week.
Next up, Helm Grey Castle number 2.
Yep, fantasy series. It's another one that I have I've only got number 1, so we're at 2. I'm starting to fall behind on this one too, but I did make a lot of progress last week, just not on some of these books. So I will give that one a go. It's staying in the pool list. I like the art from just flipping through it. I like the idea of it. and anything that I can steal some new campaign ideas or any type of extra D&D content, I'm all in for.
Next up, Spawn number 318.
Sometime back, I started... Well, originally, when I first started collecting comic books, I was about your age or maybe a little younger. Spawn was a big deal. Image Comics got me hooked. Just all that they were shiny and new and telling different stories. Spawn was a big part of that. So when you and I started collecting again, I just went ahead and added it to the pool list. Plus, this is only a $2.99 book. It's consistently when it comes out, McFarlane has kept this super cheap, which I think is cool. And he also hasn't renumbered it, which I also, additionally think is cool. So I'm going to catch up, especially with all the Spawn universe stuff getting ready to hit before long. I'm eager to catch up into that universe. So another book that you haven't, probably not for you, Jake, Aliens number 3. I read number 1. I really liked it. Number 2 is slowly working its way up my stack as I catch up on the other things. Definitely like the story. It's I like the alien stuff a lot, and I don't have a ton of just straight sci-fi in our pool list or even on regular TV shows and stuff we watch these days. So I'm going to stay on that one and see where it goes. I think that's limited, so I don't think it's too much of an investment.
Next up, Abbott number 5.
Yep, this one, I think this is probably coming to an end. It's Boom title, which Boom and Scout are top of my list. I pick up most of their stuff. Haven't caught up on this, so I'm just going to finish this out and wait for it and just kind of binge it all at one time.
Next up, Cult of Dracula number 3.
So far, I've liked this series a lot more than I thought I would. I'm not as big a fan of horror as, John, who says he doesn't like horror, but then puts a horror book on every pick he ever does. But this one was out there enough and weird and an interesting mix of like reporting and like crime drama and like cultish stuff and monster movie. I like it. The art is pretty gruesome. It's not a book for you though.
Next up, The Modern Frankenstein, issue number 2.
Exactly what it sounds. It's a modern retelling of Frankenstein that involves a medical student. I have issue 1 up there in the pile. Haven't gotten back to it. I'll catch up and we'll report back.
Next up, The Last Ronin.
Number 3.
Number 3.
It seems like it takes forever for these to come out. I read 1 a long time ago when it first came out, and then I have 2 sitting up in the stack. It's an interesting story, getting back to... I never was a huge Turtles. I liked the Turtles cartoon when I was a kid, your age in middle school and stuff, but I never really read the comics. So it's been pretty interesting coming at it from that. Interesting story. Man, I hate this size. It just doesn't fit in the box, doesn't fit in a standard bag and board.
Next up, for our last book of the night, it is The Olgar's Tale Through Time, issue 2 out of 6.
Yep, and you haven't caught up. I'm going to let you read these and maybe watch the Netflix movie if I can sneak it by your mom. It's a little bloody, but it's not terrible content-wise. Otherwise, I really liked the first series and then the second. We read the trades on those. Also watched the Netflix movie, which I liked not as much as the books, but the fact that the Netflix movie came out pointed me towards the source material, so I do appreciate that. These are fun books that are interesting. They give me almost a Highlander type feel with these immortals kind of fighting through time. This series is kind of some of their adventures prior to the first ones, as I understand it. So I'm looking forward to kind of filling in the backstories. And I know we're going to get I think we're getting another Netflix movie, and I bet we'll get more of them to come.
So that was our weekly comic call for the week. Thank you all if you've made it to this point and for tuning in and watching our weekly comic call.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the new folks, and thanks for the folks leaving comments and interacting with us on the YouTube channel. It's one of our favorite parts of making these videos. And as always, if you have a suggestion for a way that we can make the show better, if there's something that we're missing on our pool list, drop a comment, let us know. We are always, especially if you think it could be a good father-son read, we're always looking for an excuse to add something to our pool list.
Yep, and if you've been enjoying the content, subscribe and give me one of these.
Give us one of these.
Yep, and thanks for watching.
We'll see you soon.
Yep.